Hello, lovelies. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's officially springtime, a season of absolute potential, new life and rebirth, planting seeds to reap at a future harvest. These alone are great energies to harness for Cancer. People absolutely have described the journey as a rebirth process. It does absolutely have the potential for renewal on the other side of this. If you do the work now, like planting the seeds, to reap at a future date. And so, what's the deal with spring cleaning? Why is this a thing, and what does it actually do? I will share this with you and how it applies and is especially relevant if you have Cancer. So, hello. I'm Dr. Lisa Mateka. I am a naturopathic physician, energy worker, and transitional life coach for Cancer, helping those with Cancer navigate their inner journey towards health and wellness on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, and spiritually, to realize their own healing potential with compassionate guidance and loving support. And today, I'm so excited I get to do another festive, thematic video on spring and spring cleaning of the body, mind, and spirit. So we are going to talk about the types of spring cleaning that can be good for Cancer. Cleaning of the body, the mind, the emotions, the energy field. But think about just typical spring cleaning. It's like cleaning your house, right? Or maybe your car, spring cleaning. That is actually helpful too. There is something to be said about having a space, an actual physical environment that is clean and has a clear flow of energy, feng shui type of deal, because it just helps to make you feel clearer. And there's definitely something to be said about that and how the purging can be good if you're decluttering and organizing. So that is still a thing that's good, but we're not going to necessarily talk about that. But let's think about that for a second. Why is that? What exactly are we doing when we're spring cleaning our surroundings? Well, there's really two things that all type of spring cleaning that we're going to talk about and in the traditional sense is doing. And it's creating space and it's optimizing that space. So keep those two things in mind. We're creating space and we're optimizing that space. That's what happens when you're spring cleaning. You're optimizing the space by decluttering it, and cleaning it optimizes the space as well, and decluttering creates the space. So now let's move on to the body. So it's always a good idea to do regular cleanses with our body, but if you have just received a Cancer diagnosis or have been dealing with it for some time, it's a really good time to do a cleanse now. Cleansing, a detox protocols are part of many natural Cancer plans. So I'm not going to get into details on how to do all these things, or this video would be hours long, but this is just sort of to plant the seeds, get it, seeds, spring, so that you can hopefully get some inspiration that will be very helpful to your well-being. So think about it, our bodies, the inside of our bodies. How often do we clean that? We clean the outside of our bodies probably fairly regularly, just like we hopefully clean our house regularly and our car and all these things. But the inside of our body definitely deserves to be cleaned. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen inside there. So there's many ways we can go about spring cleaning our bodies. Things like cleanses. So there's juice cleanses, there's cleanses that are made from various powders, there's specialized diets that act as a cleanse. And these things are really meant to help clear out the body. We want to also open the channels of elimination, which is why colonics are often included in cleanses. So for those of you that don't know, colon hydrotherapy or colonics, you typically go into a place to get that done, and it's like a enema on steroids, so to speak. It actually reaches much farther than an enema could, and the water can go and get all the way inside of your colon to do some cleansing there, and it really can get out some old stuff. Now, there's many different ways of doing this. Some people just do a couple. Some more intensive programs do a lot. But you might be surprised on what comes out. You know what they say, there's like 8 pounds of feces inside of our bodies. So it's a good thing to get that out. So colonics are an example of creating space because we are literally getting rid of shit in ourselves. And then the other types of cleanses is optimizing that space. A fast is a type of cleanse, you could say, but a fast I think is especially powerful because a fast does a lot. A fast will put you into ketosis and allow cell autophagy, so you can actually create stem cells and free up the energy of your body to repair. I have a whole video on fasting if you want to listen to it. I'm not going to get into all the specifics here, but fasting is an amazing thing to do if you want to clear up old dead cells or problematic rogue cells, which is what cancer is in the early stages. That stuff could have been cleared out by fasting potentially. So it's a really good idea if you have cancer. Now, not necessarily do a fast during, that really depends on how much weight you've lost, because you're certainly going to want to avoid things like cachexia. So speak with your practitioners about this, whether it's safe for you to do that now or not. But in general, fasting is a good thing to add as part of your protocol. I recommend like a 5-day water fast. There are juice fasts that are also good for cleansing. So yeah, think about cleansing the body. Cleanses, fasts, detox protocols. There's all types of things you can do for detoxing, different things that you can take, supplements or chelation if that's something you need. A really good detox is going to take the toxic load. That's really the point of cleanses, is it's decreasing your toxic load, because we all have a toxic load living in this modern world. No matter how good you try to be, eating organic and all that, there is going to be some level of toxins that get into your body. I mean, newborn babies are born with so much toxins inside of them already. We live in a toxic world, unfortunately. There's no escaping it. So it is important to do these regular cleanses. And if you want to get down to old school naturopathic theory, there are only a few things that cause all disease, and one of those is toxins. So toxins do need to be dealt with. That's why we do regular cleanses, detoxes. Fasting has way more benefits than just decreasing toxic load. But these cleanses will free up more energy as well, because the body it's freeing up energy. So instead of the body just sort of dealing with these toxins, the toxins are gone or at least decreased. And so it frees up more energy in the body for repair and those sorts of processes. So yeah, nice spring cleaning of the body is a wonderful thing. I personally have a practice I like to try to abide by, where I do a fast, a 4-day fast. 5 days is if you have cancer or autoimmune. 4 is fine for maintenance. But I try to do a 4-day water fast seasonally. So spring, fall, winter, summer. So after body, we have mind. Spring cleaning of the mind. Wow, what an important thing. Now, do you have a dirty mind? That's not what I mean, of course. But most likely you have a cluttered mind, because we all do, for the most part, except some very enlightened people and those that have been on this journey for a very long time. But even me, my mind is so much less cluttered than it used to be. So when it comes to the mind, yeah, we're more so talking, when it comes to spring cleaning of the mind, we are more so talking about the decluttering aspect. Therefore, creating space and optimizing that space. Because who's living rent-free in your head? How many people or things or past events are living rent-free in your head? It is said that people recycle this, 90% of people's thoughts are recycled from the prior day, which are recycled from the prior day. So really we're only having like 10% new thoughts each day. So what good are those other thoughts doing? Most likely not a lot, because we all have inside us the egoic mind, that inner critic, that inner saboteur that is typically not telling us very nice things, not very empowering things, not very inspiring, motivational things. That is something we have to diligently work on a regular basis. So, what is the best way to declutter the mind? Well, meditation, of course. That's the obvious answer. So things like mindfulness, meditation, those are going to be your go-tos. So maybe it's time to start a meditation practice, or maybe it's time to take your meditation practice to the next level. There's always a next level. And I hear a lot like, oh, I've tried meditation. I can't do it. It doesn't work. It's too hard. The thoughts will not stop. Again, I don't have time to get into a whole video on meditation, but there's nothing wrong with you if you're trying to meditate and thoughts come in. That is what is going to happen. But where the practice of meditation becomes powerful is the process of, first of all, becoming aware. Oh, there's a thought and most likely a thought you don't need, and to then practice to let it go, usher it out, or just watch it go by like clouds along the sky. The real thing you're trying to do with meditation is to just not indulge those thoughts. Don't follow those thoughts. Don't feed those thoughts. If they come every now and again, that's normal, and with time, it will be less and less. People just need to, for the most part, be really gentle on themselves and forgiving. And those are the principles of mindfulness anyway. There's non-judgment, absolute non-judgment of the thoughts, of what they are, of the fact that they're there. We are merely an observer of them. And by unhooking and detaching in that sort of way, then they just sort of can float away on their own. So that's sort of like the cliff notes of what I have to say about that. But I recommend, if you had a practice and gave up, to really give it another try. And there's so many different types of meditation. Maybe you just haven't found the one that really works for you. I mean, there's so many types of meditation. There's so many different types of guided meditations. Then there's ones where you just focus on your breath or stare at a candle, and there's transcendental meditation. There's so many types. So maybe you need to do a little more exploring and see which one works best for you. And if you already have a meditation practice and still have these problems, which most likely is going to be the case because we are human, and this human experience, there are going to be a certain level of chatter and monkey mind, if you will. But if you have a regular meditation practice, I'm sure you've noticed that it's gotten a lot better, and it is so much better, but perhaps you're ready to go to the next level, because there can be a plateau. A plateau is often hit when people have a meditation practice. They notice this big improvement, and then it kind of plateaus, and that's actually normal. So in that case, there's a couple different things you could do. You could get a meditation coach. They're very knowledgeable and skilled on what to do. Or it's time to do something more intense, like go on a meditation retreat, one of those silent meditation retreats, or even just like a day or weekend workshop or something on deepening your meditation practice. Or maybe going to a group meditation that has like a different energy about it because you're connected with the other people's energy fields. So it might just be time to level up and try something new, or take it to that next level. But meditation and mindfulness are a great way to declutter the mind. But there's other ways too. How about just stopping some of the input into the mind, some of the negative input? Because garbage in, garbage out. How can we stop some of the garbage from coming in? We can do that as well. And so you have to think about your life and what that would mean for you. Maybe it's Time to stop the doom scrolling on social media and catch yourself when that happens and not do that so much. Maybe it's time to do a digital detox even. Maybe it's time to set up a disciplinary practice where when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is not reach for your phone, and you keep yourself somewhat separated from your phone for as much as you can. Maybe it's about not watching the news anymore. Don't get me started on that topic, but that's just their business model is to make you scared because it gets them more ratings. So it's not good stuff that comes from watching the news on a regular basis, those sorts of things. Do you have some really negative friends in your life that are filling your head with garbage and trying to steal your dreams or whatnot? Maybe it's time to have some boundaries and create a little bit of distance between you and them, or if it's a negative family member, for example. So it really is important to stand as guardians at the gates of our mind, because if we're just on autopilot just flitting away, into the day, we're going to be programmed in a negative way, because our mind is made to be programmed. We have no say in it. But what we do have a say in is what we allow into our minds, and to be diligent about what's coming into our minds and what's going on in our minds. And we can program ourselves with good things. So feed your mind some good stuff. Listen to some motivational, inspirational audios. Read some self-help empowering books or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Feed your mind with good stuff. And also the mind needs to be exercised as well with that's a whole nother topic about like brain puzzles and whatnot. I'm not necessarily talking about that, but just the awareness and the diligence, like I keep saying, of standing as guardian at the gates of your mind is important, because we do have negative self-talk that's kind of automatic. So it's important to catch that negative self-talk and turn it around by saying something positive to yourself. I feel very passionate about that topic, so I can't get as into it as I want to, but you get the idea. Spring cleaning for the mind. Do create that space in your mind. It might sound like a bad thing. Why would I want an empty head? But it is a beautiful thing, because to a mind that is still, the entire universe surrenders. When the mind is still, we can actually hear our heart. We can actually hear our higher self, our intuition, our soul, because the mind is just so much louder. It also has access to all of the tools like logic, language, volume, deduction, reasoning, rationalization. So it can easily trick us into thinking that what it's thinking, so to speak, is true, when it's really, again, just it has these tools that the heart doesn't have. The heart is subtle whispers, the heart is feeling, the heart is knowing, but it's quieter, it's more subtle. So if our mind is all that monkey mind chatter business going on, we're not going to be able to hear our inner wisdom. So that's really why it's important. But you don't need me to tell you that. You know that. All right. And then next we have cleansing, spring cleaning, if you will. Spring cleaning of our emotions. Ooh, wouldn't that be nice just to wash them all away? Maybe it's not quite that easy, but maybe it's not as hard as you think either. So emotional mastery is a whole topic, and I'm not necessarily gonna speak to the whole of emotional mastery. We're talking about cleaning some emotions, cleansing them, because generally speaking, that's kind of what we need to do to raise to the next level, is not even gain anything, but let go of trapped emotions, repressed, suppressed emotions. It's really quite likely the cause of your cancer in the first place. So what do? There's lots of things that can be done. It's a process. I mean, there's many different ways of helping to process those emotions and let them go. There's a great book called Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. There's something called somatic release breath work, where you can go to these group settings, or there's even recordings you can find online. But there's certain ways of breathing. It's actually quite impressive. Certain ways of breathing that are very intense, that can release stored trauma from the body, trapped emotions from the body, and your body might seize up because it's these crazy breathing patterns. And it's very likely you will just cry, maybe laugh, yawn, sneeze, shake. There's all kinds of interesting stuff that happens during a breathwork ceremony. But it's a real thing, somatic release breathwork. You might look into that and see if there's any practitioners in your area, because that is a good way to release emotions that are trapped in the body and to cleanse them. Energy workers work on this a lot, clearing emotions from the body. Even therapy can work on this, but it really depends on the type of therapy you're doing and the type of practitioner you have. Yeah, there's other techniques, hypnosis, EMDR. Essentially, these things are helping to release emotions from the body. That's one of the things they're doing. There's, if you're into more of the interesting sort of ceremonies, there's Kambo, which uses frog venom, and it's a purging. I mean, you physically purge, there's puking, sometimes pooping, but there's an emotional release that goes with it. There's a book about this, The Body Keeps the Score. We really do store emotions in our body, and it can lead to disease. So of course we want to get those out in whatever ways possible. There's a lot of ways to process emotions. People can sometimes allow themselves to release their emotions by simple practices like journaling or music or art therapy. There's no one right way, but there are definitely certain techniques that are literally designed for removing emotions from the body, like the somatic release breath work and things of that nature. Energy work is great for this, like I said. And yeah, there's all kinds of ways. Tapping, for example, is a good one too, the thought field therapy or emotional freedom technique. There's so many ways. So find something that resonates with you, something that you feel good about, that you believe in. Coaching can help with this too. If you find yourself a life coach, because they can really help you to have your own sort of cognitions and aha moments and really help you to understand these emotions and let them go. And you don't necessarily have to understand them to let them go, but the understanding part can help so that things like this don't happen again in the future. So there's that one. And then we have energetic spring cleaning. So energetic spring cleaning is cleaning our energy field. And this one can maybe overlap a little bit with the emotional one, because the emotions trapped in our body affect our energy field. I mean, let's be real, everything affects our energy field, but our energy field also is what affects everything else. So it's really great to have a nice, clear, clean energy field. And that's only going to be possible to varying degrees, because basically we can clear layers, but there's going to be a layer underneath. Of course, the more layers we get through, typically the better. So how do we do energetic cleansing and cleaning? Well, of course, the easiest answer is to go to an energy worker. I'm sure no matter where you live, even if it's extraordinarily remote, there is probably an energy worker near you. There's so many types of energy medicine, I can't even get into it. But some of the more common ones are like Reiki practitioners, pranic healers. If people are defining themselves as a light worker or an energy worker or a healer, they likely do some sort of energy medicine. And there's literally so many techniques on this, I can't even get into it. But there's so many things that can help clear the energy field. Sound therapy, that's a popular one. So if you go to a sound healing, that helps to clear the energy field. Crystals can help clear the energy field, but especially if you really know how to work with them. So yeah, and clearing the energy field is such a beautiful thing. You will notice a difference afterwards, getting some of that junk out of there. That is really, I think, a wonderful treat to give yourself, is to go have some practitioner or healer work on your energy body. But you know what's an easy thing to clear your energy field and you don't even have to pay anybody? Is to go out into nature. That is, have you ever noticed why you feel so good when you're surrounded by nature? And of course, the more pristine and the more natural, the better. But even a park, if that's all you have in your city is a park, that helps. Well, it does clear the energy field. It's like connecting you directly to source type of thing. It does have, and there is science behind it. I mean, look into the studies on forest bathing, for example, or earthing, grounding, even walking barefoot on the earth, especially. Yeah, I'm actually going to recommend that. If you have a place you can walk barefoot, that's like on the direct earth, that's not like over some buried power lines or anything like that, because our shoes don't do the trick unless you're wearing like purely leather moccasins or something like that. But if you have like a rubber sole, then you're separating yourself from getting those negative ions. So the grounding, and of course, uh, businesses have capitalized on this. You can buy grounding blankets and sheets for your bed and mats and all these things, which are great to have. But also, you can just go out into nature and you can just walk around barefoot in nature, and it's a beautiful thing and it's a free thing, and hopefully it's not too far from where you live, and hopefully you have as natural of an area as possible. But get into nature, being surrounded by that. And again, there is something about having your feet on the ground, because the earth and the ground can absorb those things, can absorb things from you. Okay, so I know it might sound a little weird to some of you, but there is science behind it. Look into grounding, and then forest bathing as well. Just being surrounded, there's like a higher concentration of the negative ions, and it really does something to clear and cleanse us, as well as bathing in salt water. So if you can go in the ocean, great, but also you can fill your bathtub up with salt water, and that will clear your energy field as well. There's really something cleansing about salt. It like pulls negative. This is more so about pulling the negative things out, like the earthing and the nature time and the salt water. That's going to pull a lot of some of the negative stuff out, and we can have all kinds of negative stuff. I mean, if we want to get really metaphysical about it, there can be disincarnate or disembodied spirit attachments, there can be negative entity attachments, there can be cords, there could just be stuck stuff, like the stuck trapped emotions like we talked about earlier. There can be all kinds of stuff we're carrying around from our ancestors karmically, so it's stuff that might not even be ours from this life, but then, you know, stuff we're carrying around from our past traumas. That stuff gets stuck in our field. So that is my recommendation on that. Hopefully that didn't sound a little too kooky and woo-woo for you, but if it did, then stick to the spring cleaning of the body. So in summation, in the spring of 2024, I recommend, especially if you have cancer, to do some spring cleaning, not just of your house, probably more importantly than your house, spring cleaning of your body for sure, mind for sure, and then emotions for sure, and then the energy body. That's up to you if that's something you even believe in or not. Either way, you'll get some great value from spring cleaning that body. Again, just be careful as far as if you're doing any fasting or cleanses. You should speak with your health practitioner first. Spring cleaning of the mind, highly recommending the meditation, mindfulness, and also watching those inputs into your mind, and then watching the self-talk inside of your mind, standing as the loving guardian at the gates of your mind. And then emotional cleansing and clearing of trapped emotions from our past. There's a multitude of ways to do that, but those emotions need to be addressed if you want a real and lasting healing. So figure out how to do that. You can take any of the suggestions I gave previously. And then energetic cleaning, I always think is a beautiful thing. Energetic cleansing, nature time, barefoot on the earth, salt water, energy worker, treat yourself to that. And I hope you get out and enjoy this spring, and I wish you all the best on your Cancer journey. In fact, I will give you one more thing. Bonus, I have a free gift for you. Look in the description box. Click on see more or whatever so you can see what's in the description box, and there will be a link at the top. You can get my free ebook. It's kind of a book. It's kind of more like an article. It's like 38 pages, but it is going to tell you what those cancer patients who had a spontaneous remission had in common. It's entitled The 10 Common Healing Factors Among Cancer Survivors Who Beat the Odds, and it goes into Kelly A. Turner's research on all of the things that they did, the 10 things that they did that they all had in common. So it is believed that these 10 things will help you to have a spontaneous remission, or at least increase your odds of having one. And it just so happens that cleansing emotions is in there, so it is related and relevant to this video. And so that's another reason why it's really important to do that. It literally all this research and data on how that's one of the main things that helps people to truly heal and have these miraculous healings is cleansing those emotions. So with that being said, until next time, so much love. Don't forget to follow, like if you did like this video, and leave me a comment on what you think about all this, and wishing you a happy spring and happy journey.